The night is dark, Gotham is full of villains, and we have a brand new Batwoman. I'm Chris Hayner from GameSpot. This is Megan Vick, Senior West Coast Editor at TV Guide, and we're here to talk about the Batwoman Season 2 premiere.
Oh my gosh, Chris. So much happened.
Just to get everyone caught up, obviously we know Ruby Rose left the series at the end of Season 1, leaving her character Kate Kane in kind of this unknown position. But now, Season 2 premiere, Javicia Leslie is in as Ryan Wilder, the new Batwoman, and I don't want to speak for you, Meg, but I think we're pretty excited about it. The episode. What is it that really worked for you?
I think, first of all, just you can tell that Javicia is happy to be there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which changes everything. And she's having so much fun, and I feel like you just have fun watching Batwoman again. You should have fun watching Batwoman.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel, I love that she's the direct opposite of Kate Kane in so many ways. And not only is she a woman of color, but she's homeless instead of being a billionaire, and she has a much different purpose than Kate Kane did going into this new season. And I feel like it's very interesting that they went to the polar opposite for this person who is now going to take over this mantle.
I did enjoy how she brought a little bit of gleefulness to being Batwoman in her first journey into the streets when she swung and not really knowing what she was doing. But it was I feel like comic book fans are very used to the Bat family of characters usually being kind of downtrodden and sad a lot of the time. It's nice to have a little bit different than that. I don't know. I was honestly things are probably going to get bad, but it was really nice for the beginning.
Batman he's known as the sulky superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like her very first try on the suit, she did this thing, she popped up on these, I don't know, I guess they were carjackers, but her whole boo.
Boo.
Did not think that through.
And it felt, and I will blasphemy to mention Marvel heroes when talking about DC shows, but that felt very Spider-Man-y to me.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of self-deprecation, and Spider-Man is my dude, so I was very happy to see her having fun, and sort of as she's figuring it out, really kind of leaning into it and realizing, oh, this isn't going as well as I planned, but that's sort of improvisation. It was really fun to see.
I also want to point out that in the midst of all this, we also got the Batmobile, which, holy cow, we finally got the car.
We did get the car, and I found it hilarious, and it was I didn't even know that was in here.
No.
They didn't know it was in the Batcave. It was we didn't either, but how fun
What do you
is
mean
that?
we're hiding stuff in the walls in the Batcave?
But it makes that, I feel that really plays sense to the fact that these are people that took up this job not knowing, it's not Alfred and Bruce Wayne who built the Batcave and know what they're doing, and sort of these little fun discoveries, and the idea, I can't believe that they went a whole season without the Batmobile, but that was such a cool premiere reveal to get, and honestly, that car lived up to the hype. I'm excited to see what it can do throughout the season.
I love the design of it, and I love the idea that who knows what else is hidden in the walls of the Batcave that can be revealed over time. There could be so much in there. Give us the boat and the plane, the Bat helicopter and the shark repellents, all of it. I want all of it.
I want everything, and I want the cheesy stuff too. I want them to find stuff that what did they use this for? And it's turns out it's been hanging in there since 1992.
Never leave the cave without it.
Throw it all in there, because why not? Clearly it feels to me they're going to be having some fun with the show this year, and I mean, I don't think that's too much to ask from my CW programming. There was also a fair amount of emotion because obviously we're led to believe that Kate Kane died in a plane crash, and her Batwoman suit just sort of washed upon the shore. It was just, it happened to be there, which that's good.
How did you feel about the whole Kate Kane died in a plane crash situation?
It's fine. They had to deal with it. So we'll get into that in when we get over the stuff I didn't think worked as well. But what I did like about sort of I know they're saying that the wrapping up of Kate's story is kind of be an ongoing thing. I really liked the reactions we got to see from some of the characters in the moment as they realized that we don't have Kate anymore. And not even we don't have Kate as Batwoman anymore, but like Kate is gone. And also just dropping the bomb, like Alice telling her dad, like, Kate was Batwoman. Just flat out telling him. Like, I love stuff like that. Like, and yes, as much as there was a lot of happy in this story, there was also a fair amount of sort of heartbreak as you realize this was an important person to these people.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I will not stop looking until she's found. It's over, Allison.
Kate Kane is Batwoman!
And I'm the Joker. Arkham's waiting.
I don't think we should underestimate how much Carol Andrews, the showrunner, and this creative team had to do in a single episode. Because it wasn't just about introducing Ryan and like having her take on the mantle, but like regardless of what happened behind the scenes with Ruby Rose and why she's gone or whatever, that character was important within this universe. And I'm glad that they took the time to be like, no, like losing this person is going to matter to people rather than just being like, oh yeah, like she's gone, whatever, we're moving on. Like, I think it was important. I think they did it the right way, but also like they had 45 minutes with commercial breaks to squeeze a lot in, and maybe like I don't think there was ever going to be a way that they could do it perfectly, but I think they did a pretty solid job considering the streets that they had.
And I don't think it's not the last we've seen of sort of the reaction to it. I know we actually have a video clip. Rachel Scarston spoke to GameSpot about sort of what Alice's reaction is going to be as the season goes on. And you can check that out right here.
One of my favorite things about last season was the bond that the sisters shared. And this season, I'm really looking forward to kind of uncovering how she deals with that loss and the grief and the anger and the disbelief. So yeah, I think that the audience can expect to see lots of things from Alice in terms of how she reacts to them.
All right, so we've talked about the stuff we've liked. There was a lot, but not everything was perfect. So let's get into what we did not like so much. Why don't you kick it off, Meg?
I'm going to start with, we had Tommy Elliott come in parading as Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne was in Gotham. And everybody just like, oh, cool. Bruce is back. Like, it was Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne. He was there.
Like,
he'd been missing, and he's there now. And people didn't really care.
And there was like, they just walk into the Batcave together, and there's no like, hey, do you want, like, there's no reaction to like, you found the Batcave. Like,
it drove me in, like, it felt very sort of comic booky, but drove me insane when he couldn't figure out how to get into the Batcave. It's like, wouldn't that tip Luke off just a little bit that maybe something is wrong? Like, maybe? Yeah. I don't know.
And even if you were Luke, wouldn't you want to be like, hey, is there anything in here that, like, you want to show, like, we've taken over your space.
Yeah, are you cool with this?
And it's just in general, like, whenever he went places, people were like, oh, wow, you're back in town, like, that's nice. And I was like, I can't, even if you didn't know he was Batman, the fact that, like, Bruce Wayne has shown up felt like it deserves a more reverent reaction.
It also made me wonder, like, because this was a storyline that was introduced at the end of last season, and it felt like it was going to be massive. And then it was sort of dealt with and sent away by the end of the episode. It definitely makes me wonder if, like, there was a plan for more Tommy Elliott and more as Bruce Wayne for the season. And then with sort of the switching of the Batwoman, like, that all went right out the door. And they were like, oh, we have to figure out how to get rid of this very quickly. He gets caught and sent back to Arkham. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, I wonder, because that does make sense, because, like, Bruce coming face to face with Kate has a lot more ramifications than him coming face to face with Ryan and this team. Like, Kate talking about taking on this mantle and adopting his suit has a lot more, and Ryan isn't necessarily in that same situation.
There are times when a show or a movie, like, it doesn't leave you hanging for a second. There's just new things every single second, and sometimes that's exciting. This, at a certain point, I was like, this is just too much information. I know I'm gonna forget probably half of it. But I don't know the better way to do it. Like, I don't know the solution. It was just a lot.
I have a feeling we're gonna see over the next few episodes, there's gonna be a lot of, like, reiteration of things. We're gonna get,
I'm hoping so,
facts, like, I thought it was cool how they kind of like gave you Ryan's backstory while she was reading Kate's obit, and they were like it was a great way to sort of like compare and contrast the two in an easy way. But it was, like you said, that was a lot of information in one scene. And there's a lot
so much exposition.
It's so much exposition, and I just feel like that's going to have to be retread so that like people really get it. So
well, and thankfully, like as we're just at the beginning, as we were at the beginning of last season, we're just at the beginning of Batwoman's journey. It's just another Batwoman. So hopefully we'll get more looks into the Ryan character and what made her and like what she can become. Because honestly, it's more exciting for me for someone who is sort of essentially left down and out to rise to this power than like someone. As much as I love Batman is a superhero I adore. The thing about Batman is like, okay, cool. Like I get he has a tragic backstory, but it's essentially billionaire creates $1 billion toys and then dresses up in a suit of armor and runs out and fights crime. This is someone who she was literally living in her van with a houseplant. And now she's Batwoman. And that's amazing.
Yeah. And I think there was a lot of telling without showing in this episode. And I don't want to fault them for it necessarily, because like there were she had some great speeches. I think the speech with her, I guess it's her social worker about or maybe it's her parole officer about like she's the definition of powerless and she can't, all these reasons she can't get a job. And then when she first meets Mary and Luke, there's the whole I'm a number, and she reads off these statistics, and those are very powerful statistics. So I don't want to take away from that because that's like stuff that we haven't seen from a superhero and it makes her unique. But I'm interested in actually seeing how that plays into her behavior as a hero rather than just hearing her like list off these things. Like I really want to see how that makes her a different person than Kate Kane and makes her a different Batwoman than Kate Kane.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll see, like obviously there is a side of the Bat family that it's just they're vigilantes in the streets.
Yeah.
But Ryan is the rare example of someone who has been on the other side of it and knows that you can end up on the other side of it through no fault of your own.
Absolutely.
So I would really like to. I'm hopeful that that's something they play up going forward.
And I think it'll be interesting to see how Ryan defines good guys versus bad guys based on that experience, right? Like if she understands that if someone was in her position and then they get pulled into the Joker gang because they have no other choice, how does she handle someone like that? Whereas like Kate might not have taken the second to be like, you made bad choices and now you're doing bad things and you're going to be punished accordingly.
Time to be powerful.
So overall, Chris, what are your feelings about this episode and sort of where we leave with the Ryan Wilder story?
As much as they crammed a lot of stuff in there because it was a story that had to be told, obviously, like I loved it because I'm fascinated by the idea of Ryan Wilder and the new energy that's going to inject into the show. I like that they're leaning into like I want to say iconic, but honestly sillier aspects of the Batman mythos. Like we have the Batmobile. Like the Batmobile is an iconic car, but it's also, as a fan, I have to admit, the Batmobile is kind of absurd. He made a big fancy car specifically to fight crime in, and it ranges from like a tank to a big, weird, phallic-shaped thing if you're the George Clooney or Val Kilmer Batman. So I love that we're tinkering around with the other sort of adjacent Batman stuff, but I'm mostly excited just to see where it goes, which with the CW shows, I'm not as in love with them as I used to be.
Yeah. Like
I feel like the bloom has fallen off the rose on a lot of them, except for Legends of Tomorrow, the greatest show of all time. But man, I am so down for more Batwoman. How about you?
I absolutely am too, and I feel like while they are also embracing like the sillier aspects, like you said, I think it's very important to note that we have a woman of color playing a vigilante. And
so awesome.
Right. And it's really great.
And the title character.
That's like very important. This is her show. And it's also to know that like Batman has a very complicated relationship with the police. At some points he works with them, but other point he decides to do what he wants to do. So having Ryan Wilder in this position now, I think is going to give Batwoman an ability to, even though like this show doesn't exist in our world necessarily, I think it's going to be able to give some commentary to things like police brutality and relationships with police and police reform that others like. I really like don't want to hear like. I love Melissa Benoist, but like I don't want to like Melissa Benoist. I never know how to pronounce her last name. Benoist.
Melissa Benoist.
I don't like it's. Hearing how Supergirl feels about like police reform is not the same as hearing from someone like Ryan Wilder.
I mean, Barry Allen is literally a cop.
Yes, literally a cop.
Hearing the Flash talk about police reform wouldn't mean necessarily as much as yes, woman of color, also woman who like this character has been like wrongfully on the wrong side of the law.
Yeah.
Like if anyone's gonna have something to say about it, it's this character, and like that's what I want. I want more of that.
So I'm excited to see Batwoman tackle issues in a way that like Black Lightning has been trying to do and has been doing, for its entire
also,
run. Honestly,
another great show. If you guys aren't up on Black Lightning, it is worth seeking out.
Now is the time to catch up because they're going into their final season. So like,
that's right.
Yeah. So wow. I feel like with Black Lightning leaving, like that is a very like big gaping hole, and it's interesting to see if Batwoman will be the one to like step in and fill that, because I do think CW, that's like young skewing audience, like needs to have a finger on that pulse and needs to be talking about those things.
So you can have this damn suit back when her killer is dead.
Before we wrap up, let's talk wish list.
Okay.
What do we want this season? Because listen, I'll be honest, there were things that happened in season 1 that I was genuinely surprised by. I remember being in the room at Comic-Con when Carol Andrews announced that Hush was going to be on Batwoman, and that blew my mind because like why would they ever do that? But then they did it, and it was awesome. And then now he's gone again, but like that's whatever. So like I'm wondering, what do you want? What could they put in the show that would speak directly to you?
This might be basic, but Ryan has this very intense attachment to this houseplant that she associates with her mom. And the second you have a plant, I was like, where's Poison Ivy? Like you have.
Oh, good point. I hadn't even thought of that. Oh my God.
Like I was like, so Poison Ivy has to be coming. If we're gonna have soap, like, and also I need to know like what exactly is the attachment to the plant. I don't know if I missed it but like I know it's like she thinks of the plant as her mom, but why is that happening? And I feel like having Poison Ivy come in and that I feel like there's so much that they can do, and I would love to see it.
Oh my God, she makes the plant attack Batwoman. Come on.
You know what I'm saying? There's so much.
At this point, we're almost into Swamp Thing territory, and that also aired on the CW this summer. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Something I hadn't thought too much about until we talked to Cameron Johnson. I want Luke Fox to be Batwing.
Ooh.
It has a basis in the comics, and this video right here will show you he is game for it.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I get asked this question every day. Yes, I want to be Batwing more than anything, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not because they're very secretive about this when it comes to superhero TV shows or movies. They don't want anyone knowing anything, including the actors.
So yeah, I want to see Cameron Johnson as Batwing. Why not? As long as we're throwing out like bat stuff, let's just keep going. And like I mentioned earlier,
now that we know that there are secret parts of the Batcave that we don't know about, like
secret costumes,
right? There could very well be like a Batwing like they were working on it for Robin. Why am I spacing on Robin's comic book name?
Dick Grayson. Like
maybe Bruce and Dick were working on something, and then Bruce disappeared because they alluded to him in season 1 potentially killing the Joker. So like maybe like there's some hidden costumes and stuff in there.
And to your point about Poison Ivy, like Alice Alice is Batwoman's Joker. Like, she is the primary antagonist, but like, there is such a rogues gallery of DC Comics villains that would fit perfectly on this show. And even ones we haven't tried before. So obviously Gotham, Fox's Gotham, which Meg, as you know, is
so important to you.
United I stand. Like, it is my favorite thing. But it introduced new takes on a lot of characters, but we haven't seen the majority of them on the CW. Like, let's get a Riddler in here. Why wouldn't we get a Riddler in here? Let's get a Penguin in here. It would be amazing if they would do a live action Harley Quinn. I don't think they will, because that's something that's very heavily involved in the movies. But like, the sky's the limit, man.
It really is.
And as we remember in I believe it was the Elseworlds crossover a couple years ago, they teased a lot of these classic Gotham villains that are currently hung up in Arkham Asylum. Let's start digging into them.
I think something that, like, Caroline Dries mentioned this at a recent press panel that you and I both attended, that, like, their way of picking characters is like, oh, who's cool, and then who fits thematically. And I love that, like, they're
all cool.
Right? That she was unabashed about, like, who's cool, right? And that's, like, they're approaching this as fans, and I really appreciated that, and I think that's fun. As a fan, I also want to, something we haven't mentioned is that, like, one thing that I'm very excited about is the fact that, like, Mary is now, like, an official part of the Batwoman team. And the fact that, like, you have Ryan, who is stoked to be in the suit, and now you have Mary that's I feel like this trio of Luke, Mary, and Ryan is actually going to be, like, so delightful, and I'm really excited for them to, like, actually, like, figure out what that dynamic is and how they're going to be friends and what's happening.
Yeah, because what's weird is, like, as much as I'm looking forward to them working together in the Batcave and, like, sort of running the Batwoman persona, I'm just as excited for scenes of them, like, sitting around eating Chinese takeout.
Yeah.
And just dishing about the day. Like, that sounds, in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a pressing thing for Batwoman, but it's the thing I want the most.
Absolutely. Speaking of dynamics, Chris, I can't believe we did forget something.
What?
Ryan's relationship with Alice.
Yes.
One of the things I thought was very, very smart was that they gave Ryan a tie-in to Alice. And she has her own, like, Alice is our big bad. Mm-hmm. And she and Kate had this very unique relationship because they're sisters. But I felt like Ryan having this need to avenge her mother because she blames Alice for it is a really good way to sort of set up these two. And Alice doesn't know how much trouble she's in yet. And I'm really interested to see how their adversarial relationship pans out versus, like, and how it can contrast to Alice and Kate's.
I mean, yeah, because, and I think there's kind of two sides of it. Obviously, there's Ryan wanting to deal with Alice, but I find myself wondering, like, how much aggression is Alice going to have towards the persona of Batwoman after everything of the last year? So, like, that's not gonna be pretty, but man, it should be pretty good.
Yeah, no one wants their, like, protagonist and villain relationships to be pretty. If it is, then, like, you have a boring story. So, like, the messier it is, the better. And I feel like that's going to be really exciting to sort of to have them set up that new person versus person.
So that's what we thought about the Batwoman premiere. Hopefully you liked it at least almost as much as we did. Sound off in the comments and also let us know what you want to see in season 2, because there are so many possibilities. Megan, where can these people find you?
I'm on Twitter at MEGGOINC. That's Mego Inc. Come hang out. Let's talk about superheroes and stuff.
Sounds good. And I am at Chris Hayner. And as always, keep it here to GameSpot Universe for everything you need to know about movies, TV shows, comic books, and all the good stuff that we love.